Welcome to the Augmentation of Man with Kent and Renee Miller, where we are bringing the future.
We are going to discuss what is in chapter 12, the changes that are coming in the Renaissance, studying Renaissance.
This is coming out of the last chapter of A Study in Renaissance, and it discusses a lot of the changes coming, like you said, but this is such a huge chapter with lots of
information,
a ton of information. And so what we're going to do is make this kind of a series.
We'll break it down a video at a time with the different aspects of that particular chapter.
We'll go through it in kind of in order according to the chapter, because
somewhat order. Yeah.
I think people, with all these changes going on and all this chaos, people are probably wondering where to turn to for their information and what's going on a spiritual level, which is much different than what we're viewing.
Well, we're looking for answers.
Right.
Everybody is looking for answers.
Yeah. And I think I have to say today we had a little bit of a prodding by our spiritual guide, an ancient, and there was an assumption on my part that with all these the chaos going on, that people would be so cluttered in their minds that they wouldn't be able to really hear what we had to say.
Well,
and
even you expressed some fear.
Yeah, and so our guide, this one of the ancients that we are guided by, encouraged us to continue, because it's only a small group of people that is creating the chaos, and this information absolutely has to be out there.
Yeah.
And so we have to build our momentum again with the assumption that people do want to hear about what's happening and why all of this is happening. So here we go. We're going to begin with, from the top, the cycles. And what are the cycles?
Well, the cycles were created from the very beginning of creation. Everything runs in a cycle from beginning to end, and it influences everything within the universe on movement.
And so the cycles were created at the beginning of time, when, with the Big Bang and the conversion of energy into matter. And then that matter coagulated, like matter coagulated together and formed kind of a toric sort of field. And that's what created the spheres. Yeah. And those spheres have a vibrational output, and as they align with other spheres, they create a vibrational field that is projected into another area. And that is what kind of directs the movement of energy towards certain events for our learning. So as these events unfold before us, our job is to do our self-reflection and to try and see how that energy is, how it is directing the events on Earth, but also why. So we have to kind of backtrack and see, with our own events, what were the precipitating factors that led up to a final event?
In Hopi tradition, there is a cycle of fire, a cycle of ice here on Earth, and a cycle of flooding. And we're in the cycle now, fourth cycle, according to the Hopi and other natives. And we are going to end the fourth cycle and begin the fifth cycle.
Now, I'd like you to just clarify a little bit. The cycle of ice, the cycle of
that was
water.
During the Ice Age.
Okay. So those cycles came to a close.
And they came to a close many thousands of years ago. The cycle completed itself and began the new cycle. The last cycle was a cycle of flooding or water. Okay.
So it ended, that cycle ended with the Great
flooding,
Flood.
right.
And there were other cycles that ended in perhaps the cycle of fire was that of a great volcanic.
A great earth eruption.
So this cycle, so each grand cycle ends in a lot of catastrophic events.
Every cycle ends in catastrophic
and
events.
And it knocks back the human race.
It reflects somewhat on mankind, but it reflects on the cycles of the earth and the solar system and the universe, the galaxies and the universe.
It's all tied together.
Right, it's all tied together. Now the next cycle, the end of this cycle will probably end in fire and water, which would be volcanic activity, earthquake, and flooding. Okay.
Fire and fires.
Right, that's what causes fire. And so then the fifth cycle will begin, and it's a new cycle which mankind, if it has learned anything at all, will begin the fifth cycle in peace. And if it keeps peace, which I don't think mankind can, if it keeps peace, it will be a long-lasting cycle. If not, it'll be like the cycles previous. It'll be within a couple thousand years, 6,000 years or so, and it'll end in some kind of catastrophe. So we have a choice as humankind.
So we are also being told, though, by our guidance, that we are under the effects of many different energies that are pushing us in an entirely new direction, where we're having a genetic upgrade, and then we will have eventually a reconnection with
but it's
the
up to the human
soul
race to determine the severity of each cycle. Okay?
And so what do you mean by that?
Well, the severity, the human race is like now is in chaos and severe ineptitude, basically. Yeah, that's my words, ineptitude. And it will create the ending cycle of a more severe cycle, more
severe ending.
Severe ending, yeah.
Okay. So we're, through our own chaos, we're creating more severity in the ending of the cycle than just the earth events itself.
Right. And we accelerate, or not accelerate, we make them bigger.
And more exaggerated through our own chaos. And a lot of that chaos is caused by our resistance to change.
Yes.
And so we have basically...
Because it's going to be a time of great change.
Right. And we have people who are trying to hold on to the old ways. But we also have all these other entities here trying to block the transformation, who are in the spiritual realm, who are creating a lot of chaos through influencing people's thought process.
Right. And people listen to them.
And people are being influenced by this and acting upon it.
Right. And this is what creates the chaos that we have now.
So if we just didn't resist and we moved with the changes,
it would be a lot less.
It would be, right. It would be much more of a smooth transition.
Correct. Which we could be able to handle, the human race.
So we are going to be facing a lot of earth changes, but we're also going to be faced with a lot of human created chaos for about the next 10 years. Yeah. And so this will be a great time of change as our old paradigm comes to a close, opening a new age of learning. And that will be focused on universal laws and the natural world, learning about the natural world.
Change. This is going to be very stressful to all that are on this planet.
Right.
Including animals. All that are on this planet.
Yeah, because even things are changing at the subatomic level. And so even without the visible events in our world, is still stressful to our physical bodies.
Well, the outcome will contain a new human.
And
it's not in a vision.
So much our outward appearance, but it's what's going on within our bodies and at the soul level.
Yes, it's going to be a new human species, which I had a vision of, and it's quite interesting. But you'll find we'll talk about that later.
And so the Creator has released this, you know, in the Bible, you hear about the Word. And I think that's a simple explanation for this vibrational energy that the Creator releases. And with that vibrational energy is the mathematical equation to bring about that vibrational change. So that is coming in repetitious releases. It's kind of like this pulse-like release of this vibration that is coming to us. It is permeating all of our galaxy and all of the universes.
Yeah, well,
and it's bringing us to a higher level of expression.
Well, the Creator released repetitious instructions for the coming change. Humankind is not listening to what they hear. They're not listening to wise men who wrote about what they should change, how they should change. They're not listening to anything except the voices that are screaming in the streets.
And this vibration is bringing forth what? What is going to change for us?
Well, we'll get a higher self, a higher attainment of self, if we listen, but we're not listening.
And so what does that mean?
It's going to be held up until we can calm ourselves as a species.
But a higher attainment of self, what does that mean?
Understanding why we're here, what we're supposed to be doing here. This is a lab. Earth is a lab, and we have a mission. Everybody, everyone that was put here has a learning experience and a mission.
Okay, so we're going to a higher level of learning.
Well, we may go to a higher level of learning. We have the chance to, if we want.
And those who resist that, what will happen?
They'll be gone. And, yeah.
Through what means?
Well, through spiritual self, the spiritual body will dissipate out.
So you're talking about a physical death.
Yeah.
And then they have to.
These bodies were just borrowed. They've been loaned to us, you're going to say.
Okay. And so those who resist the movement into the next cycle, or who are not ready for that next cycle, which is the quantum leap, they will have to experience a death of the physical body. Their spirit will seek further learning in another realm, and they will continue on somewhere else, but not here.
Well, we don't know how much here is going to be left for the human race.
And so this is going to bring a new level, a new classroom for us, new things to learn, and an inner transformation of the human race to a higher level of intellectual and spiritual knowingness. When you say that? And we're also,
if we take advantage of what we're being taught.
Right. And we're also going to experience a reconnection with other outside beings that will help to educate us further, right? And so each is a step in the progression to bring us to the desired goals of eventual unity, a new DNA expression, the capitulation to our Creator, and through that, a reconnection with the higher self, or that part of the soul that directs our learning process. And so once that happens, then we can start hearing the soul talk to us, and then there will be a download of information that we've learned before. But also when that happens, then we can start communicating with other beings in a telepathic way.
Correct.
Okay. But in the meantime, we have a lot of chaos before us. And that will, you want to talk about that chaos?
No, we've talked about the chaos. There's nothing that we can do about the chaos. It has to play out on its own.
And it's going to continue even after the Earth movement. So we're talking about,
well,
there's a lot of Earth
be,
movement that's going to
chaos
happen.
is going to be different.
I'm sorry?
Then chaos, then it's going to be different than the chaos now. There's no cause for chaos now. There'll be cause for chaos after the Earth moves.
Okay, so this chaos comes before the attainment of the higher self. So that means being able to have that reconnection with the
what
soul.
creates the chaos?
We do.
Our own ideology, which is a misinformed ideology of various forms. We create our own chaos.
And so we're being reminded that the human ideologies only contribute to our misery. And so what's the definition of an ideology?
It's a belief that you think is the absolute belief.
The absolute truth. Mm-hmm. And what we've learned is that everything is various levels of truth, and we just are digging deeper and deeper. And so ideology is a belief or doctrine that drives us as individuals. It drives social movements, it drives groups of people, and may include a political or social plan that is put into action, that such as fascism, that forces those beliefs onto other people in a very forceful way. So all of these changes,
are going to be able to see the connection to truth in those that aren't, and this is something we can't control, because it's up to the individual to hit a self if they want.
It's when one is open to a new understanding, that they accept that truth and release these old ways of thinking. But they have to be ready for that. And a lot of people are not, and they resist it, and they hold on to old beliefs that are not aligned to the truth.
Yeah, those that want to seek conceptual correlation. You want to explain what conceptual correlation is?
That's the ability to connect the dots. So as we look around what's going on in the world today, to be able to see this event, this event, this event, and connect the dots for a bigger picture of what's happening in our world. And so there are people who have that innate ability to do that, but and to see the bigger picture and to see a more comprehensive truth. Yet there are others who don't have the ability to do that, who really despise the truth.
Yeah.
And so all of this is going to create a lot of pressure on man as he enters a period of self-clarification. Mm-hmm. So what is self-clarification?
Well, to me, what you were just discussing is like standing in front of a tree, and there's a whole forest behind the tree, but you can only see the one tree. So you don't see the truth behind the tree, the whole forest. And you just decide, well, I'm just going to stand behind this one tree. That's all I want to see. So you have that choice.
But as you're saying that, I'm thinking it's like standing in front of the mirror, and you see a different picture in the mirror, and you don't recognize that it's yourself.
Yes.
And so will we be able to recognize who we are at the soul level, who our soul is, that resides currently for the human race in the fourth dimension?
Yeah, and I can't answer that.
And so, part of our self-clarification is to be able to recognize who we are as a soul, and to accept that.
Are we going to be guided in how to recognize ourselves? Because it's very difficult.
I don't know.
No, I don't know.
I don't know. And so all of this is bringing us closer to completion of this fourth cycle, which is a completion of the first four dimensions, and the soul residing in the fourth dimension for us, so that we can finally recognize the soul and have that reconnection.
Yeah.
And to be able to understand what our purpose is here on Earth, and the value of life.
We need to, if we can, hold a more comprehensive value of what truth really is. We have to think about what truth really is. And don't be afraid to face the truth, because it will show you some things that you may not want to see or hear.
We have to have an open mind.
And we have to have courage.
Yeah. And so once we have that acknowledgement of the soul, and we can start understanding what our purpose is here on earth, what the value of life is, and why we're here. And it's all about the learning. So we can stop fighting each other, because we're here, we're all here on the same mission.
We can put this out, tell people stop fighting each other, but there are those that their ideologies incorporate fighting, resistance, anything, and not looking at truth. They have not stood back and looked in the mirror to find out who they really are, and they won't. This is why the fourth world will end in fire and water, because mankind has created the situation of which we are in. Can we change this? We can make it a little bit less aggressive in what it is, but not totally unaggressive.
Now, fire and water, though, is a part of the purification of the earth.
Well, it's not the purification. Purification will come later. Earth has a vibration. Mankind puts out a vibration. The earth accentuates its own vibration, and mankind when it puts on top of that. Okay. So earth is in the rebalancing, which could be somewhat smooth or mild. But with mankind's aggression, it would be much more aggressive. More volcanoes, more earthquakes, which will precede flooding of land.
But all of that has to do with rebalancing. Right.
Rebalancing, but it'll be more aggressive rebalancing.
Okay. So there will be a redistribution of the ocean water to areas of antiquity.
Return its ancient lands.
And that's planned. Mm-hmm. And so we can't really resist the rising water levels, because that is planned for the earth, right? Our carbon emissions are not in totality what is responsible for the rising water.
Because this planet needs carbon emissions to survive.
Not carbon emissions, but carbon. Carbon is natural.
Carbon is natural, and it needs, all the plants need the carbon.
Everything organic has carbon. What
mankind is putting out is hardly nothing compared to what Earth puts out in carbon.
In volcanic activity. So in volcanic activity, there's much more carbon released higher up into the atmosphere. But we're being told that all ice caps will melt off. That is planned for this Earth, that the Earth will be covered with a larger amount of water and be more tropical.
So when you see this on the news, don't get alarmed. This is a natural cycle.
However, man has polluted the earth. The pollution, the HAARP programs have significantly distorted the atmospheric balance
of the atmosphere.
Right. And there's lots of things that we have done that humanity is yet to realize. The mining of uranium is depleting Earth's energy source.
Which we've talked about.
Iridium is disrupting the electromagnetic field. So there's a lot more things that we have done that we have to come to realize, and we have to stop doing. Once this Earth rebalances, it's bringing everything back into balance, and we cannot continue to do this behavior.
Magnetic energy is the energy that we need.
Yes, so the new technology, we're being told, will be based on magnetics. So that will be earth-friendly. For those who are very concerned about the earth, we should all be concerned about the earth, but the carbon is not where we need to put our energies. It's all these other areas.
So with that information, don't be overwhelmed. Take it in a little at a time. Relax. Look around you. Try to be as friendly as you can. And we hope that you enjoy the journey along with us.
Yes. And I think I saw this on somebody's video or podcast, and it's about being a nice human. I think that's a good way to start this new cycle, is to be a nice human, one that has mutual respect, that has open dialogue, that we can talk and discuss and grow and learn from.
Not one that howls at the moon. Yeah.
We want to also remind you that the books, A Study in Renaissance, which is more spiritually based, with the last chapter being about a lot of the changes coming that we're talking about in this and future videos, and also The Acquiescence of Humanity, both available on Amazon. And this one talks about our history with extraterrestrials, about Earth being a lab, about the genetic upgrade for humanity, and where we're going as a race, and the direction we're going.
Various other things.
And so do check those out. And if you like podcasts, we're on anchor.fm /The Augmentation of Man. And we're on Facebook, Parler,
and BitChute.
And BitChute, if you like BitChute. This will go out to BitChute as well as YouTube. So if you like what we have to say, please do subscribe, and you can hit the bell to get the announcement that we've released a new video. And as always, peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment. Have a good day. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.